Fetish, a form of sexual desire in which gratification is linked to an abnormal degree to a particular object, item of clothing, part of the body, etc. What is your fetish? Have you ever thought about it? Do you talk about it with your closest friends? Do you even celebrate it? Not too sure. Well, we have one of our experts who's one of the co-founders of an organization called ONYX, which is pretty much a fraternity that celebrates leather. And we're here to talk about it with him to kind of give us a good rundown when it comes to the black gay community and how we approach fetishes and how, well, there's a place where you can actually join other friends that does the same thing. They enjoy it. Stay tuned. All right, this is Chris with Brothaspeak podcast, where we talk about black LGBT issues and topics. And I have a guest today by the name of MUFASA. MUFASA is actually part of an organization and actually one of the original founders of an organization called ONYX. And this is an organization that actually caters to founded and organized by men of color who enjoy the leather lifestyle. Now, this was actually started in 95 and also provides education, fraternalization, and also serves as a bridge for men of color to the greater leather community. Now, that's a lot to say there, but definitely MUFASA is going to enlighten us a little bit further on the leather community and fetish in general, if he can. So I would definitely love everyone to welcome MUFASA. How you doing, MUFASA?
I'm great tonight. How are you?
I'm just doing great. And I definitely wanted to have this conversation because I think a lot of people, especially people of color, are a little bit interested, but we just never really discuss leather. We never discuss fetish in general. We never really discuss a lot of sorts of things in terms of the sexual exploration like this. Would you agree?
Yes. The people of color community, especially the black community, is usually very conservative around talking about the leather community or sexual issues, whereas we need to talk about that as a community, but very often we don't.
Is there a particular reason why, first off?
I think it's our conservatism coming out of the black church and the community, because we know that all of this exists in the community, but we, I think, to show good faith to the public and to that we are not the freaks, and because the diaspora is very, our movements, our body movements, and the way we dance are very, very erotic and sexual, and to the general community, that often is seen as, as obscene. And I think in order to normalize within our culture, I think that's why the talk of it kind of went underground, because we were trying to fit in somewhat. But, twerking didn't just start in America. It comes from Native African dance.
Ah,
so,
wow. Okay.
Because the hips were glorified. And so often women who were courting would dance in ritual dances and show their hips and move their hips and their backside, which was, their childbearing and all of that. And so, no, it didn't start here or in the South. It started in Africa.
Wow. Okay. This is a little deeper here. All right.
It's working. Somebody gave it a name or a different name, and it didn't start here.
Well, let me ask you in terms of how did you originally start exploring yourself, especially sexually, when it came down to leather or anything in general? What kind of got you into this lifestyle?
Well, I think initially it was the draw of the eroticism of the clothing, of the dress, of the look of it, and I started buying different accessories and things of that nature, and going down that road. And growing up in Jersey and New York City, helped that because there was easy access to in the 70s, I would say, when I came of age, it was easy access to places and bars and clubs, more or less, that you could see certain things and experience certain things, and the bathhouses and a number of different types of things, and a number of types of publications that were on the newsstand and things of that nature were all kind of accessible. So I think I started, in that way, and then as I understood or learned that there was a community around this, but not many blacks in that community, I kind of ended up meeting a buddy who started to explore with me.
Interesting.
And we started to travel, and we started to experience. He had experienced the community before I had, and we started to travel together and go to different events and those types of things, and met some other men of color, black men who were in the community, who had just started a club in Detroit. Okay. And so we were like, so there is this club, fraternal orders, fraternal clubs and things, and they do things in the community, and as such, we looked for one to join in Chicago, and they were pretty much all white.
Okay.
And that's kind of the experience that most men of color get when they walk into a leather bar. Basically, they look around and they don't see themselves.
Right.
They see pretty much all white, and if there is another black person in the room, they may be partnered with a white person and not want to talk to you.
Ooh.
And that is an experience that, I don't want your husband, or I don't want your boyfriend, as much. But that is the experience. It has been the experience, and it can still be the experience, because we just don't hang out there.
Gotcha.
I mean, in D.C., it's less of an experience because they do hang out in the bar, in the leather bars there. But in many other places, in many other cities, that's not the experience when you just go in on a random night. And if you don't see people who look like you, you don't think that they exist in the community, because the community itself is very, you wouldn't know it existed until somebody introduced it to you.
Right. That is true.
So if you're taken to a party, or you're taken to a place, a bar or a function, or you're taken to a conference, then you say, oh, there are people like me, but there are many people who have the fetishes that I do.
Right.
I'm not the only freak in the world.
Right.
And now, there are also other people that look like me.
True.
Maybe they don't live near me, but they're, that's what the conferences are for, to bring people together from across the United States and from different places to hang out and party and share fetishes and share likeness.
Right.
So when we were going to these functions or going to places, I had an idea. So, well, if we don't want to join another club, why don't we form a club of our own? Okay. And I particularly was concerned with people of color, with men of color.
Right.
And what we saw happening in the Detroit club, and that was just a general club that was founded in Detroit by 3 black men, they started to get outvoted.
Really?
because the club's a democracy.
Right.
And so there were more white people joining the club than other black people.
Gotcha.
And so in things that they wanted to do, or maybe thought that they wanted to do, they would start to get outvoted. And so we looked at I said, well, I was introduced to 4 other gentlemen. Well, my friend introduced me to 3 other gentlemen who were in the community but had never joined another club, and they were men of color. They were black men. And I put forth this idea that, what about doing a club for men of color, not just black men, but men of color. And because I saw a sense of people even outside of Chicago who wanted to belong to something and network. And of course, this is before computers. This is in 94. It's 94, and we sat down the year of 95. So we sat down a full year and planned the organization. So I was the organizer, and then brought them in as the first board, and I was the first president of the organization. Now, two of them had white partners.
Gotcha.
So the question on the table, of course, is, well, how do you feel about an organization, forming an organization where your partners can't be full members, full voting members? They can be members, associates, but we admit anyone, female, male, any race, as an associate, but they do not have voting rights. Only men of color have full voting rights.
And how is that generally accepted?
We just tell them that that's how it is. Everyone can be. We sat down for a year. We didn't want to discriminate against anyone. So we sat down for a year and reviewed the bylaws of some other clubs in Chicago, Asians and Friends, Amigos Latinos. So they're not leather clubs, but they're ethnic clubs.
Okay.
Organization. And we're like, well, a women's organization would be a women's organization. I mean, they might admit men as associates of supporters of the organization, but, I mean, you don't want men running a women's organization.
Right.
And so this is a people of color organization, and I always joke and say that, if we wanted fried chicken at the party, or if we wanted old school dance music at the party, we would be able to vote that in. We would be able to get that vote. Yes, we'll have baked chicken too, but we would be able to vote that through. And they said that this was about them.
Right.
And that their partners were welcome to everything except a business meeting where we're talking about finances.
Right.
The finances of the organization, but they're welcome to everything else. They can attend the meeting. They just need to step out when we're talking about that subject, and they can step back in if they want to.
Gotcha.
But so that we have membership levels for everyone. Everyone can be a member. But because we need to focus on the needs of men of color, because we feel that we bridge the gap
Gotcha.
to the general leather community, which is still a very white-oriented community, as is the gay community in the United States.
Well, let me talk about that for a minute. I mean, when it comes to a black person who's just simply coming into this feeling that he's having, he or she in particular, but we're talking about men right now, and that he's having, and he says, you know what, the feel of leather is something that I've never experienced, and I gotta put in my own personal experience. I never quite had that until I dated myself a white man who introduced it to me, and I never knew the feeling of leather myself. Not to say that I'm really that hardcore into it, but I did feel different. It was something of an exploration that I myself never ventured into until it was introduced to the white community. Do you find that to be the experience of many African American males within the leather community, that they were really introduced to it by someone white or white counterpart who actually introduced it to them?
Not as of late. We've been around for 20 years, so a lot of the newer entrants into the community have been introduced to it by other friends who are in ONYX or associated with ONYX or elsewhere. But I would say that even myself, I was introduced to it by another man of color, the friend that was one of the board members.
Gotcha.
But knowing that it was a generally white community, because I particularly cared to play with and date men of color, more or less, or only. That wasn't that wasn't something for me.
Right.
So it was, we don't particularly care who you date or who introduced you to the community, but there are issues that will not be put on the table by that community more so often, because such as how do you play with black skin, or how do you what are the issues, cultural issues that we bring with us into the leather community.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to find out more information about our guest, MUFASA, and his organization, ONYX, you can check out onyxmidwest.com. Again, ONYXMIDWEST.com. And also, if you want to send a little something over to me, if you want to send a particular topic that you want to discuss, go right ahead. Just email brothaspeak@gmail.com. That is, again, BROTHASPEAK@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and back to our podcast.
And so, so for me, it didn't happen that way, but I know for others it did, who came into the community in the 70s and the 80s. And I came into the community in the mid-80s, late 80s.
Okay.
And so, surrounding us, and us starting to find other men of color at these events, at the national events, and saying, hey, we want to be connected to you. And of course, we were connected by snail mail. And we're showing up at these events, International League of Leather, Mid-Atlantic Leather Conference in D.C., Mr. Drummer contest in San Francisco during Folsom Fair. So there were large events where people would show up to, hoping to run into other people. And what we wanted to create, or what I wanted to create, was a network of people.
Gotcha.
So that we could travel together, so you could meet up with someone when you get to D.C., or you could meet up with someone in the community and have a drink or play or whatever in Atlanta or wherever you're going.
Okay.
And also leather itself, the term leather, is a catch-all for the community, for the leather fetish community, for the GBLT leather or fetish community. It's been deemed the leather community. So you don't have to necessarily wear leather to be in the community.
Okay, what does that mean? I mean, so if I'm not necessarily...
There are other fetishes. There are uniform fetishes. Some people just like to wear uniforms.
Okay.
Police uniforms, construction uniforms, or whatever. And they never wear leather.
Okay.
Leather itself. The gear fetish is a big fetish now. Neoprene, athletic gear, soccer gear, basketball gear. So it's athletic gear, more or less. It's neoprene and then there's latex.
Okay.
There's rubber. So that's a whole nother facet of the community, who pretty much may never wear leather. There's also the Levi.
Levi's?
Yeah, who like to wear jeans. They just wear jeans and boots.
Wow.
And their t-shirts and maybe a club vest if they belong to a leather club or a leather vest. So there's the Levi folks. So they all come together to form this community we call the leather community.
Wow.
Because the idea of wearing leather is that it's a fetish.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, is there truly a difference? Because you kind of touched on it a little bit. Is there truly a difference between how the black community actually takes on these fetishes versus how the white community does it, or there's really not much of a difference?
Can you ask that again? Sorry.
When it comes to leather and how the community actually treats leather, or just fetish in general, is there much of a difference between the white community and the black community in terms of how these fetishes are really interacted?
No, but the black community doesn't talk, the general black community doesn't talk about it as much as we talked about.
Yeah.
So I can find playmates on an app who do not identify with the leather community at all, or choose not to be in the leather community, but have fetishes that they don't mind sharing or having you play with them around, but they're not a formal member of the community.
Gotcha.
And they may not be because they don't want to be out or in the community, or they don't want to be, or that's just not their thing. Just like some people just don't go to clubs.
Right.
You know?
Right.
They, or don't go to bars. So they're not part. They don't consider themselves, especially a number of people in the black community, black gay community.
Yeah.
You know, they're gay and they only sleep with men, but they're not out in the bars, or they're not out, at events and things of that nature that are gay events.
Right. So, okay, this is actually interesting because again, you're educating me in the process, because I had I had to really sit back and say, well, what is actually a fetish? And I really had to look at the meaning just to be sure that my thoughts were in the right wavelength here. Just by looking at that, and it is kind of explaining the fact that just a fetish in general is more about is more of a link with more like an abnormal degree of a particular object to an item or clothing or body part or a part of a body. So, okay, so can you go into that a little bit in terms of body parts?
So if you look at the leather, if you look at the leather garments that a number of the people in the leather community wear, they're fashioned they're an iteration of motorcycle garments.
Okay.
Because that's where the leather community started. Folks came back from World War II, and they formed motorcycle clubs for camaraderie, and they started riding out into the field, into the mountains or whatever, to play and to be alone and have sex or whatever. And that's where the backpatch clubs come from. That's where they come from. And so the chaps that people wear, the assless chaps, the harnesses that people wear, I mean, it basically focuses in on a body part that you want to show off, or that you want admired, or that you want someone else to admire. So the harnesses show off your chest.
Gotcha.
The assless chaps show off your ass.
Okay.
And your crotch, because you're wearing a jock.
Okay.
There's also people who are into jocks, of course, and underwear, and so that is a fetish. The mirror caps, or the caps of the master's caps, delineate a position in the community, more or less, because you have all these relationships, leather relationships,
gotcha,
in the community, doms and masters and subs and boys, and slaves, and so you have all of those, and so the fetish is around a body part that you can now ask for to have played with. Find someone who speaks the same language.
Yes.
Because you can be into bondage and have someone do that safely with you and take you to another headspace, but they're obligated to bring you back.
Now,
so you can let yourself go. If you want your feet played with, or if you want to do a particular thing in the community, you're able to find other people that are into that same thing to receive or give that fetish play.
Wow.
And it doesn't always have to be sexual.
I want to kind of go back a little bit, because you touched on something I actually did want to kind of go a little bit. When you talked about slavery, or when you talked about, now that has got to be somewhat of a sensitive subject for black people in this.
It is the motto of the community is that, this may be for you, but not for me, and that's okay, but I respect your choice.
Gotcha.
And the master-slave relationship is a relationship that is not for everybody.
Okay.
But it is also one where one gives of themselves willingly to their master and trusts their master.
Gotcha.
And they live with them, or maybe they don't live with them. Maybe they help them with different things. But that is a distinct relationship.
Gotcha.
I don't choose that relationship. I have boys and I have sons.
Gotcha.
I've leather boys. I have leather sons. I don't choose the master-slave relationship because that's just not me 24/7.
Right.
And so that usually is a 24/7 relationship.
24/7. Wow.
Yes. So, I have white friends that are in that type of relationship, and, it works for them.
Wow.
There are some black friends. I don't know if I have black friends. I have some black and white friends that are in a master-slave relationship, but a master-slave black couple, I'm sure it exists. I'm trying to think of one that I know, but most end up being dominants or daddies and have subs and boys that they're in relationship with, and they may or may not be in a love relationship. Well, it is a love relationship, but they may not be in a partnership relationship with that individual.
That to me doesn't sound that surprising, considering the fact that I would believe that I've only come across that when it comes to, or seen that within more so the white community, if they would like to be considered to be a master or a slave to someone. Now, but the thing about it is also, is it possible? And I was just talking with my friends not that long ago when it came down to this topic. Is it possible that a fetish could be considered to be a white man adoring a black man of color? Is that considered to be a fetish or a preference?
It is. One can be. We stand against the fetishization of a person.
Why?
And we feel that if you only want to be with me because I'm a black man, that's not cool.
Okay.
And that you don't care about me.
Gotcha.
So that's the crux. That you care about my body parts.
Gotcha.
Or that idea of that versus who I am.
Gotcha. So it's got to be. So basically, are you indicating that it has to be very much so a trusting and caring relationship?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. So that is not, so there are a number of white and black couples in the leather community, but, they understand who I am, they understand who we are as a people, and they understand our issues, not just, I want you as a piece of meat.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, for that purpose, I mean, of course, people have sex, and people, yes, you may be a piece of meat to somebody, but when you actively fetishize them, that's what we combat. That's what we try to combat in the community, and not for that not to happen.
Gotcha.
But when we do our pledge lines in the pledge manual, I believe there's 6 pages of fetishes.
6 pages of. Wait a minute. Okay, can you give me an idea of the number of fetishes that people truly have?
That varies.
Is there say there's 50 or 100? I mean, is there?
No, not necessarily, because of that subset of those 6 pages, somebody may have only a small subset of different things. I mean, different people are into different things, and so what you're looking for is someone to match up with what you are looking for.
Gotcha.
At any given point in time, because people grow into new things. They add other things to their to their fetish list of what they will do. And so it's an exploratory process in the pledge process, because all it is an education process.
How big is your membership? How big is this organization?
I would say we have about over 200 full-time brothers, and then I would say we have between 200 and 300 brothers and associates.
Gotcha.
Nationwide.
Nice.
And in Canada and in Germany, I believe.
Okay.
And so we understand we're an organization. People come, people go.
Yes. Yeah. No, that happens.
It's a volunteer organization.
Right.
And we know how minority organizations tend to implode.
Yeah, I know. I know.
We have a history of that, and the fact that we're still around 21 years later,
it does speak.
I don't think that the leather community believes that we would be around that long. And other people of color clubs that have started are not around that long. I'm not around anymore.
Gotcha.
That we understand that even though people come and people go, we still need to be viable.
Gotcha.
One of the things that we do, of course, is that we give. The leather community is a big fundraising community.
Okay. All right.
And they raise funds for a number of different charities. The Leather Archives and Museum, that's headquartered here in Chicago. The Carter Johnson Traveling Museum, which is run by two black women. They give to LGBT youth organizations.
Nice.
They give to a number of different organizations. It's a big charitable giving community. But when I founded the organization, I'm like, well, who's giving to the people of color HIV organizations?
Nice.
They were giving to the general organizations, but who's giving to these organizations?
Okay.
You know, and since we have a connection because we're men of color, well, let's start giving our charitable contributions and things to those organizations.
Gotcha.
So that we make sure that we support people of color organizations in the LGBT community, as well as the leather organizations that speak to us within the community.
Right.
And so the fetish play is an extension of bringing us together, as well as the competition circuit, because we do have our own Miss America.
Really? Oh,
yes.
You got hold on, stop. You got to explain that a little bit deeper there. So in this, we have our own.
There are national leather titles.
Okay.
That are held. There are different circuits.
Okay.
And there are local titles, local bar titles, local organization titles that feed into these other titles. There are regional titles that feed into them. International Mr. Leather is the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
And it's held here in Chicago on Memorial Day weekend. It's its 39th year.
Wow.
Yeah. It's its 39th year.
Wow.
Over 15,000 people are in town for it.
Okay.
Then you have, I was just a judge at the Drummer North America contest. Drummer was a magazine, a fetish magazine, in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
60s, 70s, 80s, yeah. And they formed a contest. And it's changed hands a few times, but it's back. And it's a national fetish contest they elect a international a drummer North America and a drummer boy North America and a drummer boot black.
Interesting.
Bootblacking is also a fetish. Those that love the feel of boots, the feel of leather on their hands.
Yes.
And they take care of our leathers when we're at events, and they shine boots and do leather pants and other things, and will take care of and condition things for you when you're there because of their fetish for it.
Right.
But there's also a recognition that they they are vital to the community, and there are different titles for them as well. You have international, on the women's side, you have International Ms. Leather, which is coming up in April in California.
Wow.
You also have all of the titles that feed into International Mr. Leather. In Fort Lauderdale, you have Mr. Ramrod, who represents the bar there, but also goes to International Mr. Leather. So you have all these titles. They're usually about 55 to 60 contestants each year at International Mr. Leather.
Gotcha.
Then you have International Leather Sir, which is another contest, International Leather Boy, International Leather Community Boot Black, that's held in Dallas. And all of these title holders help raise monies at the bars that they represent or the organizations that they represent, again, for fundraising.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to find out more information about our guest, MUFASA, and his organization, ONYX, you can check out onyxmidwest.com. Again, ONYXMIDWEST.com. And also, if you want to send a little something over to me, if you want to send a particular topic that you want to discuss, go right ahead. Just email brothaspeak@gmail.com. That is again BROTHASPEAK @gmail.com. Thank you so much, and back to our podcast.
And for the community, so they're community servants actually.
Wow.
They serve the community. They serve the bar that they hold the title for.
Gotcha.
For that year. So there's that whole title circuit that also feeds into us gathering at different events in different places. So you have that. But, I can go on any app and find other black men in the community, in the general community, that like to be spanked. Now, they may not say it up front. Some do now.
I was going to say, wait a minute now,
Some people do now more often than they used to, but they're kind of feeling you out and whatever, and if you're having sex or whatever, you kind of start to kind of spank them or whatever, and they're like more, or, whatever. That's a fetish.
Yes.
They may not speak it, but when you enter into the community, you're allowed to speak that. You're allowed to say, yes, I'm into spanking. Yes, I'd like to be spanked. Yes, I would like you to do it.
You're a little more free to say it and willingly, because everyone has some sort of a fetish themselves.
Yes.
So it provides a comfort community. Right. Gotcha.
Right, exactly. So I teach impact play. My main fetish is impact play, which is striking the body in many different ways. So I use my hands. I use paddles. I use floggers. I use single tail whips. I use slappers. So I use a variety. I use massage balls. So there's a variety of things that I can use to take you on a journey of feeling in that way from that particular fetish. Some people are just into spanking. Some people are just into flogging. Some people are into water sports. Some people are into fisting. Some people are into ass play. Some people are into just having sex in leather, or having sex in rubber, having sex in a particular garment that they're wearing. Some people are into a variety of things: cock and ball torture, nipple play, pumping.
It sounds like a lot.
The list goes on.
It's kind of funny because, I've always thought of these things as a white thing. I really have. I thought of a few things that you mentioned. For instance, water sports. Now, let me just ask a few questions in that. Do you see a lot of African Americans who love water sports?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes, and you fall into it.
Now, just so for those who don't know what water sports are, can you explain that a little bit?
It's piss play.
Basically.
So basically piss play, either receiving it or being pissed on or being the pisser or receiving the piss. Some people like to drink it. Some people, it's sterile. So once you get over that hump, because of course it's been demonized in
Right.
the black community, of course, as being nasty or whatever.
Yes.
But it's actually sterile because it comes through your kidneys.
Right.
And so it's just, based on what you've been drinking, beer or water or whatever, it's going to be stronger or less strong. And that's kind of, I guess, more with the fetish based upon what you've been drinking.
Right.
And there are people at events that line up in the bathroom to receive it.
Wow. Wow.
But I do see it in the black community. But again, if you're with somebody and you're just like fooling around, having sex or whatever like that, and then they're like, "Well, will you piss on me?"
Wow.
And of course, that just kind of comes out of the blue because you haven't talked about it as being something that they're into. But a lot of these things, and that's what we're discovering, and that's what we have discovered over the last 20 years, that these things do exist in the community. It's just that people did not talk about it, and they may or may not become members of ONYX, but we don't need them to. We need to just make sure that the education is available.
Now, let me ask you this. In terms of the age bracket that you are normally receiving new memberships, are you seeing millenniums come out? Are you seeing Generation X? Are you seeing different generations begin to... You are?
Yeah, at first it was an older group.
Yeah.
I would say people entering in their 40s, late 30s, 40s, and 50s. And now we've seen a much younger group come, because the internet has been our best friend.
Yes.
Because now they can find us.
Really?
And,
okay.
They can find our website. They can find our groups. They can find our events because they are publicized.
Yes.
And they can also just ask questions.
Gotcha.
On any of the members. And so we found, I think our youngest member, I know someone was online. I can't remember in which chapter, but I know someone who joined, was 21 or 22.
Wow.
And that was a very big shift.
That is.
From a number of years ago. But we have members who are aged 21, 22, all the way up to, I think our oldest member is 70-something.
Okay.
And so we have members in all of that. And I believe that the current line in our Mid-Atlantic chapter in D.C. Is a younger line, mostly in their 20s. And I think there are two or three people in their late 30s, early 40s.
Whoa, so that's a big shift there. Okay. Well,
yes.
Well, let me ask you this. What percentage of the people would you say are of between the ages of 20 to early 30s?
I would say it's still a lower percentage.
Okay.
But we are getting more and more of those individuals entering. But I would say it's a lower percentage. I don't know what the percentage would be in looking at the different chapters. I would say, even looking at the Chicago chapter, I would say it's probably only, in the Chicago chapter, probably only maybe 10%.
Okay, but still yet, you've seen it grow through the years, and you've definitely, This is actually interesting. Yeah. How many locations and how many chapters would you say you have nationwide?
We have 6 chapters nationwide right now.
Okay.
Northeast, in order of the Chicago is the mother chapter, is the founding chapter.
Okay.
Chicago Midwest.
Right.
Then you have Atlanta Southeast, which was the next chapter. Then New York Northeast. New York City Northeast. Was the next chapter. Then DC Mid-Atlantic region.
Okay.
Was the next. Then we jump to SoCal, Southern California, Southwest.
Southern California,
ONYX
okay.
chapter.
Okay.
Headquartered in LA, but reaching out to Palm Springs and San Diego.
Okay, now I am kind of curious. So basically, right now, you are most of the people who started these locations, started these chapters. Did they mostly derive from and came directly from the Chicago area to start these locations, or they just happen to be people who came to one of your events and just said, you know what, I'm motivated enough to actually start something in my location?
Both and. Because I believe one of one of my sons was one of the founders in actually all three of those locations, one of my leather sons.
Okay.
In New York, D.C., and Atlanta, and organized other people. And they were associate members.
Gotcha.
And they wanted to say, well, we have a bunch of people here who really kind of want to do work here in our own location, and how can we form chapters? How can we, be our own entity?
Yes.
Here where we are, and it took us a little while to figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
How to get that done, but we did get it done. And Great Lakes is the newest chapter, headquartered in Cleveland and Detroit. And that was because of distance, that was a split off of the Midwest chapter, because they're just like 5 hours away, which makes it a little difficult for them to get here for different things often, which is headquartered in Chicago.
Okay.
And so they're only 3 hours from each other, or 2.5 hours from each other in Detroit and Cleveland, and we were working with bars in both places and have members in both places. So they have just launched.
Okay.
We have chapters of interest in Dallas, Houston area, and in Seattle area, Northern California area,
okay,
and now South Florida.
Well, wait a minute now. Now you said South Florida. That's my home. Well, so where exactly is it starting in South Florida?
In the Fort Lauderdale area. The first event is March 16th.
Okay.
I think March 17th.
Okay.
March 17th and 18th.
Okay.
Which is the South Florida Rubber Weekend.
Okay. Yes.
And there will be, there is a group, a Facebook invitation up with the ONYX events that'll be happening during that weekend.
Okay.
There'll be a trip to Haulover Beach. There'll be, so people can meet each other, and there'll be 2 dinners, one on Friday night and one on Saturday night, and there's a Fetish brunch on Sunday. And so that people can get familiar with each other. We have a member of the Midwest who's moved there. We have an associate from D.C. who's moved there. And we have a brother from the Southeast chapter who used to live in Tampa area who's moved to Fort Lauderdale. And we also have one of the founding board members who's relocated there from D.C. And so there's a good bunch of people there now.
Yeah.
And they want to explore what the possibility is of and what the interest is of people there. In the area, learning more about ONYX and as such. And it's South Florida ONYX Invasion is the invite on Facebook, and anybody can get information by going to ONYX. I think it's the email address is ONYX, ONYX SF Invasion at yahoo.com. I think it's at yahoo.com or at gmail.com. I think it's yahoo.com.
Okay. No, definitely. I'm definitely toward the end of this interview. I want to make sure that I'm going to provide the information myself when it comes to make sure I provide the website and also find what I can on the Facebook. So to make sure some of the people who are listening who do have an interest in whatever type of fetish, whatever it be leather, so they can be able to explore your group, because it is important to have some sort of an outlet in a place of comfort and also developing trust. And if you've been around for 20 years, that does show that shows a lot of commitment, but also shows a lot of trustworthiness. And it does sound like something that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. So and
yes, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to actually extend an invitation also because we plan on having an event called Chocolate Freaks that actually explores the sexual exploration in terms of an event. So I'm going to give you more information about that too to see exactly.
Great.
We would love to invite ONYX to that event and see exactly to kind of give people a different option, a different look, and get educated on what are things that are available out there for them. So what they are is not strange at all. So I'll definitely talk to you a little further off the air on that. So I do.
Definitely.
This sounds like actually. Now the first thing I gotta say that one thought that did come to my mind. I said, you know what? Wait a minute. Like if I'm a person who love Harley Davidson bikes, usually what statistically it shows most of those people are very, very high professionals. They get paid very well, but they love getting on a motorcycle and just going out there and really just driving their Harley. Is that the same situation? Because you speak very well, you sound very intelligent, and I'm thinking to myself, are these pretty much high income people who just happen to be gay, but also they just want to go out there and explore a different aspect of themselves? Would you kind of put them in the same category or no?
I think it runs the gamut. I mean, I think you have those of us who have done college and grad school. You have ministers and you have professionals, as well as those that didn't matriculate in college, but are interested in the community, or they work in the community, or they have jobs and lives. And so I think the leather community, I believe, did have a lot of that. The general leather community did have a lot of bankers and still does, lawyers and people who did have a lot of money to spend leather, and leather clothing can be expensive.
Yeah, I heard that. We're talking about jackets that can be upwards to $700. Is that correct?
Yes, and chaps can be $200 to $300, and leather shirts can be $250, and things of that nature. Because we have formal leathers, and then we just have other leathers, and depends what type of events you're going to. And as a number of the younger people started coming into the community, overall, the gear fetish, which came from Europe, basically, soccer gear was the first thing, because you know how big Europeans are into soccer. Not so much here, but that's kind of how the gear fetish entered into the United States, because the younger folks did not have as much money.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't have, their careers weren't as solidified as some of the older people in the community, and showing people how they can pass down leather, and how they can go to leather swap meets and get things, and how they can, folks get stuff made out of the country and sent into the country. And so there's a number of different ways that people can outfit themselves. But the thing is to find something that works for you, and go with it.
It's okay.
Because somebody can look wonderful, and the only thing that we require when you join ONYX is that you have a pair of black leather boots and a bar vest, a black leather vest.
Okay.
To wear our colors on.
So just to make sure now, for those who are on the leather budget, where would you recommend you tell them to go to swap meets? Where would you go online or Facebook? Where would you eBay?
There are places online on eBay. The thing is with men of color, though, is you have to worry about the fit.
Gotcha. All right.
So whenever big events come to town, and there are vendors there, and actually there's a leather store there in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, of course, they're leather stores. They are.
Leather Works or Leather Masters.
Yeah. I think links to Leatherworks. Yes, that's one of them. I believe Leather Masters. Yeah. I haven't heard about them, but I'm sure it's there.
So the thing is to go in and try things on.
Gotcha.
And see what kind of patterns they're working with. Are they working with patterns that usually fit Caucasian men, or are they working with something that will fit the side, folks who have more thighs and folks who have, that were made differently. And so that's what our exploration, of course, with ONYX is as well, acceptance of our bodies.
Yes.
And understanding that everything is not made for us.
And
understanding that I can then recommend to you where to look, things that you're interested in, who would make it, what prices, and what you see, and those types of things based upon what you're interested in.
Gotcha.
I may look at a harness, and it may be $250 or whatever, or something. But we have a brother here who's a leather maker in Chicago who can make me something like that for $100.
Nice. Okay. All right. Now,
people have their own designers, or people have people that they go to. You don't have to always buy it off the rack.
Gotcha.
And then the thing is because you can go to thrift stores and find boots and combat boots and those types of things. And so there's a number of different places that people can gather things from, and that's also part of the education of our orientation to pledges, is that it's not always about shelling out $400 off the rack. If you can do that, that's fine. But if you don't want to do that, there are other ways of getting and obtaining clothing and obtaining things in the community.
Yeah.
And again, you may not be one that wants the leather.
Right.
You may be one that's just into being half naked all the time.
And you know what? I'm pretty sure that works, and it's free.
Jock straps and other things that are ass out. And going to the conferences gives you the ability to wear those things,
well,
as well
that's
as
for sure.
at events and bars, those types of things. Because and it's becoming more fashion oriented, orientated in the general fashion of underwear and of things that are more fetish related.
Okay.
As of late, so it's kind of crossing over in different ways.
Okay, apparently it's opening up a lot more. But let me ask you this: when it comes to kind of documentaries, any type of documentaries that kind of shows, I'm sure there's a lot of leather documentaries and stuff more about the white community. But is there any particular documentaries out there, or film, or something that people can be able to watch that explores leather or other fetishes within different cultures? Anything out there that?
No.
Really?
Not that I know of, and that's been our task to make that education known. In the movie Kink Crusaders, it's a documentary that's available I believe on Amazon now. It's called Kink Crusaders, and it was released a few years ago.
Okay.
And we are featured we have a segment in the, ONYX has a segment in the documentary, because at International Mr. Leather, I started a People of Color Leather Caucus.
Really?
Which is basically a forum during the weekend for people of color to come together and meet each other and hang out and talk on a topic of interest to people of color in the community, in the leather community, and also to see leather demos done by people of color with other people of color.
Wow. This is actually interesting.
And so in that documentary, they came by and filmed us while I was teaching. I think I was teaching leather relationships or something. And while we were talking about different subjects, and they asked why it was important, for us to be there and for us to express ourselves and those types of things. And so we often use that as a teaching tool, that segment from the movie, to say, we believe in education. We have a national teaching initiative initiative called ONYX Teach, Teach. But ONYX Teach, each chapter holds an education classes around different aspects of fetish for men of color.
Oh,
and
wow.
now we're attracting other men of color, Latinos, Native American, some Middle Easterners, to our organization, because we are men of color, but it took a while for other people to, to say we're just not a black organization.
Yeah.
Even though we've never said that. But that's what they saw.
Oh, well, yeah.
As the people who were stepping up and stepping out.
Gotcha.
Within the community. But it's a journey, and all we ask is that you trust the journey, and if you want to enter into the journey, you may, this may not be for you later on. It's a fraternity. I mean, basically, it may not be for you to be active later on, but right now, you've accepted to be on this journey.
Yes.
And wherever you start, some people start with zero experience, and other people start with a lot of experience in the community.
Okay.
And we don't worry about where you are on the journey, but that you've accepted, to enter into the journey
Now,
and trust the journey.
Now, I am going to ask you one last question because, and of course it makes total sense to ask this in terms of transgender. Now, where is the transgender community fit within ONYX?
We have a number of transgender brothers
Okay.
in ONYX. We have never excluded them.
Okay.
ONYX is an organization for gay and bi-spirited men of color.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we do have some men that are married in ONYX, married to women, but they are bi.
Okay. Okay.
And we have never excluded them at all. They are men.
Gotcha.
As far as we are concerned, and as far as they're concerned. And so we have never discriminated against the transgendered community in ONYX.
Gotcha.
Also, when the International Leather Sir competition was sold and changed hands, and the new owners of the new board decided to discriminate against trans men in entering their contest.
Oh, wow.
We stood up and wrote a letter
Gotcha.
to their board.
Okay.
And they then rescinded that.
Gotcha.
And changed their policy back
Wow.
to gay-identified men.
Wow. That's actually
So,
impressive. That's impressive.
So they've always been a part of us, and we acknowledge that they have a place with us, and they are brothers of ONYX. And so that has never been an issue for us.
Gotcha.
I don't even know if we really thought about it as
Really?
an issue ever. Because they came to us and they trusted and they felt welcome.
Gotcha.
And we said they identify as gay or bi, and they're men of color, and they've gone through the process, and they're members.
Gotcha.
And so it's been a wonderful. I mean, we're getting a lot of recognition. We've been Club of the Year at our Oscars, I guess you want to call it, the Pantheon of Leather Awards in 2013 and 2016. Yeah, last year we won again a large Club of the Year. And I was granted a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2015.
Wow.
For doing the work in this community. We understand who we are as cultural. We dance, and so we've been known to give the best dance parties.
Oh, wow.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
We like to dance, and it's like the whole big thing was other men don't dance. They just stand and look, by their motorcycle, and most of them don't even ride motorcycles these days. But they just stand on the wall at the bar and look tough, and they don't dance. But we do. And that was one of the things that we introduced to the International Mr. Leather Contest weekend. We started a dance.
Nice.
And it was the first dance at that weekend. And it attracts over 1,500 people now.
Wow.
Each year.
Wow.
And we have been asked now to do dances, sponsored dances at other events across the United States and other. And so we have a reputation for that, and it's not a bad reputation because we enjoy doing it.
Wow.
And we're getting just as much out of it because we want to bring the party atmosphere, bring the dance to them. And so the ONYX Dance at IML is one of the largest events at IML at that weekend. We also have a cocktail party that's raised $8,000 this year for charity in D.C. at
Wonderful.
Atlantic Leather Weekend.
Wonderful.
A gear show, an auction, and where they auction the garments right off of the individuals on stage. So we are very sex positive.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
We are a sex positive organization in understanding that we all are different and we all bring different fetishes and different ways that we like to express ourselves to the table. And there is a trust that there is no judgment. Of course, somebody's going to judge it. But
of course, yeah.
Overall, there is a trust that I can find other people to talk to this, to learn from, talk to it about it, and things of that nature. Because if I'm flogging someone and I go to a general flogging class in the community, oftentimes they don't talk about what happens with black skin when you flog it.
Is there a difference? Well,
it needs to. I mean, ashy skin breaks, so you need to have lotion. Not oil.
We do get lotion. Ashy. No, just kidding.
Right. You need to have lotion to lotion the skin in case it needs it.
Gotcha.
Because I don't want to break the skin.
Gotcha.
When I'm doing this. And so.
And you teach all of this in your courses, correct?
Yeah, we teach all this in our classes and things that people. The pup community is a big thing that's happening now.
Oh wow, that's probably a whole section in itself, especially considering the fact that you guys are now gathering a lot of younger audience now, which is actually growing. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure the pup community has got to be growing amongst the. I can see it. And by the way, some of these definitions, a lot of people really don't know. So the only reason I know it is because I've happened to, being within the community, you kind of talk a lot to a lot of people, but black people don't talk about it. It's the white people that talk about that stuff. So it's something that they educated me a little bit in terms of some things that I've never really understood. So you're going to go through the terms, the definitions, and all of that information on these classes. Do you do everything? Do we do anything online to where people can be able to kind of learn a little bit more just with the click of a button?
We don't do anything particularly online, but we do have, we point people to resources.
Okay.
So if someone wanted to learn more about what a boy is in the community or a pup, our main website, onyxmen.com, you can go there and you can contact someone who will get back to you about different resources, books to read.
Gotcha.
Leather Sex, The Ethical Slut, The Leatherman's Handbook, things
Gotcha.
that will tell you about the general community, but we then take you onto the cultural side of the community.
That's awesome.
Of being a man of color in the community, how to maneuver within the community, how to access each other in the community, and those types of things. And so that has been our quest, to be that bridge for men of color into the general community.
Well, MUFASA,
as much as they want to be.
I got to tell you, you have definitely, within this hour, you have definitely educated me more on fetishes. If anything, it kind of inspired me now to even want to kind of let people to understand that one is not a crazy white thing. It's clearly you've broken that stereotype also. But it's more about simply exploring. It's more about simply everyone not necessarily don't put yourself in a box is basically what I got from this conversation. And it's perfectly okay to just be who you are and be free, and there's a community out there for you. So I do appreciate the work that you're doing, and I definitely want to make sure a lot of people know about it as much as possible. Can you tell me again, what website do people be able to visit you so they can be able to find out more about you again?
ONYXmen.com, ONYXmen.com is the general site, national site, and all of the clubs' individual sites you can find on that site.
Okay, awesome.
As well as events that are happening in the different cities. We have bar nights in each of the cities each month, so people can come out and meet the members and hang out with the members. I know it's the first Friday in Atlanta at the Atlanta Eagle, DC at the DC Eagle, and the Green Lantern have many various bar nights. Southern California is located at the Eagle, LA Eagle. Okay. And New York is at Evolve Bar in New York. And so you can find out all of that information on ONYX at ONYXmen.com.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, MUFASA. I really appreciate it of you educating me and also the rest of the listeners. And I definitely am going to talk to you about an event that we plan on doing down here at the end of May to kind of give people a little bit more of an understanding and a variation of many things and sexual exploration, as well as bringing more awareness to the community in many aspects. So I thank you for your work. I thank you for your time. It was a little bit, you're definitely a busy guy, that's for sure. But I do appreciate
we can have another talk down the line.
Let me tell you. There's so many other subjects I plan on bringing to that kind of related to this. I definitely want to bring you on as an expert again. So I hope you don't mind that. You're busy, but if you can find a little time for little old me, that'll be fine.
It's great. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for all that you do for the community.
Thank you so much, MUFASA. And again, this is ONYX. This is one of the founding members of ONYX, and I will be talking to bringing this to you guys and also giving some more information pertaining to his organization, and it will be on the Brothaspeakpod.com website. Thank you again, MUFASA.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to find out more information about our guest, MUFASA, and his organization, ONYX, you can check out ONYXmidwest.com. Again, ONYXmidwest.com. And also, if you want to send a little something over to me, if you want to send a particular topic that you want to discuss, go right ahead. Just email brothaspeak@gmail.com. That is, again, BROTHASPEAK @gmail.com.